contractual issues or just want to talk about marathon money, whatever you guys want to talk about, this is the place, this is Camp Advantage Zone. It's a good
It
place
is.
to come to.
You learned
It's a great, it's
common,
great.
I mean, stuff that's happening today.
Right, yeah.
All right, go ahead.
In lieu of, let's say you have a contract and it needs repairs. Can a seller say in lieu of,
Yes.
seller to credit?
So the seller can do it, and the buyer has to do the final election, but the buyer cannot do it by itself.
Okay.
But the buyer can say, repair these things, or in
In
lieu
lieu of
of.
repairing,
Yeah.
right,
Is that
roof needs
still-
replacing, fix the water heater, fix the water spigot, fix the toilet. In lieu of these repairs,
Yeah.
buyer will accept the credit of.
Yeah.
Or he can say, fix the roof,
I thought
and
you
in lieu
meant,
of all other
is Dell out
repairs, except, you know, you can certainly do
uh-oh,
that,
where's Dell?
Is it credit or,
however you decide to do it.
Are we
If
doing
it's
a
a
round
cash
table?
deal, it doesn't make a difference.
I know.
Yeah.
Credit or-
Should I say scoot out?
Sandy said thank you for letting me in via Teresa.
We've had the conversation.
Oh,
But,
That was too funny.
but if it's a financing deal, you just have to run it by the lender, because the lender will control how much credits the buyer.
Okay, it's gonna be
Yeah, I
funny.
read-
Call my broker.
Because we've run into
You see
this
all
problem,
the text messages?
I'm.
in
because we've
report?
run into this problem where the buyer and seller have agreed to get
Yeah.
credit,
No.
but the seller
They're
won't
signing-
allow it.
They're signing.
So now the question is, how do you get that money to the buyer? There are other ways, but it gets more complicated.
Who's Stephen Moore?
You mean the lender has to
I know
approve,
Artie
right,
was
I
giving
understand,
one.
yeah.
Marshall?
On every finance deal, no matter if it's $1,000 or whatever.
Because it could be a specified loan, maybe the down payment is one of those deals. where there's
Right,
no-
so as long as
Give it-
it's a loan cost, right?
No, it's a loan, it's a,
Usually.
We need to
yeah,
hire an
but
inspector.
the lender,
We need to get
on a
our
finance deal, the lender has to
Sign that
approve
contract.
that.
Right,
And
right.
that's
Hold it.
why we write an addendum
What do
that
you mean
says,
sign it? Do not sign
we don't
it.
write a lieu of
You
repairs.
have-
We write an
Right.
addendum
Yeah.
that
What we
says,
should do, we
buyer
need to
credit
close the
seller,
deal.
or seller credit buyer,
Right.
X amount of dollars for closing costs.
Dell,
I
business
just thought you
development,
didn't.
not.
Oh my goodness.
Dell's not here.
I'm in.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
awesome.
Better.
Are we like a round table?
Better, get that on camera?
Sandy, when you get a chance, I
Even
wanna
better
talk
that
about
Sandy's
that
here.
one email you sent
We don't
out.
need Dell.
So listen, I'm gonna run this like I do Camp Advantage. We'll just talk about what you guys wanna talk about.
Awesome.
And as,
Are you filling in?
yeah,
Oh.
and
just said
what I was saying before
I thought it
was,
was an accident.
I
Unless
encourage
you
you
want to
guys,
teaching it.
because this is what we do at Camp Advantage every Wednesday. We talk about whatever you guys wanna talk about. We could talk about business development, we could talk about contracts, we could talk about whatever you guys wanna talk about. It's a great program. It's just,
Yeah.
it's really personalized.
Frankie
Those
loves
that
it.
should- It's really, so you should show up and come, because it's not just for beginners, it's not for veterans.
Can you do it on Thursdays? My
Uh,
only problem.
Okay, great.
You sent out an STD about sending out notices to, on actives and solds in the community. And that we had to put the broker,
That's an ARS, that's a, I don't know if it's commission, when I say commission's rule, when I say it's a statute of law, I don't know the difference. So when I say it's a rule, I don't know if that means it's a law, it's a statute, it's a commissioner's rule, so just understand that. I'm not,
so, because
nobody does it.
I've been doing
What it
this.
says is you're supposed to give credit or the listing agent
The
on the.
listing broker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did not know it. Now, my question, okay, so you're saying absolutely if it's an active listing, the broker,
That's simple, you can't.
brokerage is supposed to be on there.
Nobody does it. So if you send out a newsletter, let's say in a farm area,
Uh-huh.
and you just put all the active homes for sale, that's what the ARS, that's what the statute says. But at minimum, you just need to know it. At minimum, you should say all information was derived from the MLS system.
Right.
You should just.
I do say
at
that.
least cite the source.
And I also state that they're not necessarily Remax listings. I can't remember what else I say,
And
but,
that's okay, because nobody does it.
okay.
I get it, nobody does it.
But if you were worried about it, then can you do solds without crediting? Because there are two agents involved then,
Yeah,
once
well,
it's sold.
yeah, good question. In the old days, okay, in the old days, when you were sending out, let's say, just listed, just solds,
Courtesy of or something.
well, in the old days, and I'm not sure where the distinction was, until I got my license in 1990,
The
so
gray
back in
area.
those days. a listing agent can say just sold this property. A buyer's agent could not say that.
Right.
A buyer's agent usually
Right.
can say, I just participated in the sale,
Yeah.
or I was involved in the sale.
Right.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that
Well, I
rule
see
changed.
mailers all the
But that
time.
rule changed, and now both a buyer's agent and a listing agent can both
Can't
say.
advertise.
Because buyer's
So,
agents were
wow.
But that didn't always
excluded.
exist.
Yeah, that's right, they
from-
did kind of,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that didn't always exist,
okay.
so,
It was probably before my recent
Yeah.
days.
yeah. So, in answer to your question, I know it's a common practice, it's done.
I love doing that. I love, I don't always love receiving them, quite honestly, over the years. Easy way to,
See what other
back
people-
when I was in new homes, I didn't have access to MLS, so
Right, right.
it's a good way to.
Somebody sent me an email yesterday, was it you? Someone sent me an article
With me.
about two things, it was really fascinating. So there is some sort of, and it's passing through all the legislation things, and all the department things, where we may be able to start using our nicknames on signs.
Oh, Frankie
You
would
know how-
love that.
You know how you say you can't, Sandy Carpet can't say, this house is listed by, call T-Bone for more information.
Right.
Because, and the reason is,
What's that your
and
name?
if you think about it, the reason is this, it makes sense. If you look under, if somebody wants to know who T-Bone is, you have no idea, because there's nothing registered with the state under T-Bone. So if you have your licensee name on the sign, they know where to find you. That's the whole idea of having the brokerage clear and prominent.
Right.
And it's the whole idea of having your name as your licensee. So then the question came up, well, does Delbert have to use Delbert, or can he use Del? Does Donald have to, can be Donald, be Don? Can Sanford be Sandy? And, no, my name's not Sanford. But, I mean, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I use Pam.
But there's a, right, Miss Pamela, right? So there's a whole thing about that, but I think what's going to happen is they're gonna allow us on signs to use a nickname, provided that your actual name is still on the sign. Sandy Carpin, T-Bone, or whatever, because the rule is not the same for teams. Because you can say the Matheson team, or the Delhi, or the Rounds team, but that's not a registered name.
Yeah.
So I think what's gonna happen is, they're gonna allow you, I think my opinion is, they're gonna allow you to start using nicknames, but the nickname has to be registered with your name. So if I say it's T-Bone, T-Bone's connected to Sandy Carpet. I think that's what it is, you'd be able to make that connection. The other thing I read was, do you guys remember that lawsuit, it was a movie years ago about the tobacco company, and this law firm went after the tobacco companies for, non-proper disclosure about, being hazardous to health, and it was addicting, and they knew what they were doing. I think Al Pacino played the movie, and Russell Crowe, I think. The same law firm is now taking on the real estate industry.
Yes, exactly.
About 6%
Let's talk
commissions.
about that.
That was.
I don't know much about it other than what I
Yeah,
read,
I've
it's the first
been,
time I
I've
heard
been
it.
reading
Class.
quite a bit about it yesterday, but.
Tell us-
Class
Did
action.
you send it to me? Did somebody send me
No,
something
I
yesterday?
didn't send it to you. I thought about it, but I thought it was still too new. I think it is still too new to know what's going on. but
I
there-
think that's never gonna fly.
Yeah, that's what NAR is saying, but of
And
course you would
NAR
expect
says
them
What
to
they're
say that
saying
too.
is generally is that we're colluding as an industry.
Right, right.
And price fixing.
But
Here's
I
the
bet
other
you if you
option.
go through 100 listings, I bet you 20% of them are 5%.
Could be.
Where the
Right,
listing
yeah.
agent's taking less because
Right.
maybe
I
they're
do.
Something
I do
like
that all the time if I'm participating in.
I just had one with Bloom where he charged 7%.
Or if it's
Yeah.
a friend and I reduce my
Remember
commission
Prudential
later,
always-
or,
You
I
took
bet
what?
you if you go through
He took
a
5.
lot.
No,
So, Sandy,
no,
the other
7%
part,
listing, I took 3.5, we negotiated it.
Okay.
Because he was doing it as an incentive, I'm so sorry.
that's all right, you're
For
okay.
which it didn't work. The
other-
client liked the house, we put an offer
What
in.
was it? So the other part is that they're trying to say that buyers agents are not important
Right.
because everybody is going out and looking online and they're contacting it. So I had something happened, in a listing a couple weeks ago where a guy comes, sends me a text and says, you know, I found this place, I don't have an to offer this ridiculous price. You know, so he's, like Dell was talking about, trying to save both the commission so we could all work for free. But in that lawsuit, they're saying that we are forcing the buyer's agents to be paid when it should just be the seller's agent. So it sounded to
Right,
me
they want,
like
but
they
they
were.
wanted more equal things, they wanted the seller to
Right.
pay a seller to represent them and a buyer.
Right,
buyer's
so
agent.
that, exactly.
So listen carefully.
So the buyer
I get
pays
this
the buyer's
call
agent?
all the time, okay? There's a reason why we keep commissions out of contracts. And I want you to keep in mind, there's two parallel lines. And
Right.
the two parallel lines should never cross each other. Here's the one parallel line. We have a listing.
Right,
On the listing.
Exactly, yeah.
On the listing, we have a seller
right,
who hires a brokerage or a listing agent, and they negotiate a fee to sell the house, right?
right.
In that agreement, we disclose on the listing agreement how much we will offer another agent to bring a buyer.
Correct.
And that's the agreement. I'm gonna take X% to sell the house, or a flat fee. My company will keep this for our fee, and we will offer this to the other brokerage or other agent that finds a buyer. And that's one line, okay?
Correct.
And you got another line, that's called a purchase contract. Now, a purchase contract is between buyer and seller, buyer and seller. The minute you start saying buyer to reduce commission or seller to reduce commission in purchase contract, it has no effect. If you do it, you're only doing it as a disclosure, but it's not an agreement because we as agents are not signing the purchase contract, right? So the two are just they're completely separate. But if you're gonna give a commission reduction or something like that, the way it's supposed to work is this. So you're the listing agent, right? Kelly's the listing agent, I'm the buyer's agent, and I'm gonna give, let's say, I'm gonna reduce my commission by 1% to make the deal, okay? The way it should work is really simple. The deal's $100,000, and I'm gonna give up 1%. No, the deal's $101,000, I'm giving up $1,000, let's say, to make the deal $100,000. Kelly goes back to her seller and says, we're doing an amendment to our listing agreement. The fee to the seller is whatever your fee was, let's say.
I've never done that.
Let's say it was 6%, it is now 6% minus $1,000. That's where the seller saves the $1,000,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then I am sending you a letter stating I agree that I'm reducing my commission as stated in the MLS from 3% to 3% minus $1,000. That's how I get paid.
And when I
That's how
do,
it should be done.
when
I
I
just
do
get
a
email.
listing agreement for a transaction like that, I always put on the purchase, in regard to the purchase contract between, and I put the parties only. And can you do that?
But
Because,
it doesn't have any effect on it. If you're doing it as a disclosure, that's fine.
no, I'm talking about the listing agreement.
She's
Because
thinking of the
then if that
specific
sale falls
party.
through,
Because for that particular sale, that's what you did it for. Sure, and it could be on an email, I don't really care, it just has to be in writing
Yeah.
someplace. But what I'm saying is, but that line of commissions
Yeah.
will then affect the sales price this way.
Correct.
But you can't cross the two, it doesn't work that way. So here's what's happening more and more now. So now I contact Mark and say, hey, Mark, I want to buy that listing, your listing, and since you're not paying another broker, I want to make my offer minus 3% and so on.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a decision to make, because
Yeah.
he's already negotiated with his
Right.
seller how much the seller's paying.
Right.
Whether there's two agents or not, it's regardless,
Yeah.
right?
It is.
And I'm gonna give you something that I learned not too long ago, it's a great way to combat that, I think. So if you agree to say you already made an agreement with the seller, 6%, sometimes you do it, if I find a buyer, it's 5%, if nobody's represented, it's 4%, that's okay, it's already been pre-done. I don't know that, it's none of my business. So your responsibility was, hey, listen, your price is to be negotiated with the seller, not your commission, because that's already been negotiated. If you wish to negotiate your commission to make the deal, it's your negotiation with your seller, not with the buyer. Okay, that makes me crazy when buyers do that, it just does. The buyer says, well, you're not doing anything, I found the house. Come on, guys, we know that's not
I
that.
always
We know
say-
the work begins when you're under contract.
Right,
So you guys heard
right.
the story about this plumber? This lady lady has a plumbing leak under the sink, so she calls the plumber, and it's leaking pretty good, Plumber comes over and does his thing, bends over, he's got the crack in his butt, he's got the belt on, and he fixes the leak in 15 minutes and charges him
Yes.
$200.
Yeah.
And the lady says, wow, that's a lot of money for 15 minutes worth of work. And the plumber says, lady, that was 30 years worth of work.
Yeah, there you go.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Huge.
Correct.
Think about how long you've been in the business, what we do, how knowledgeable we are. That's what we're getting paid for. Listen,
Yeah.
on a side note, what do we sell? What's our product?
Service.
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 What else?
Yeah. Emotional.
Knowledge.
Knowledge and what else? I think there's
Emotional
three,
management.
there's three things. I think,
Psychology.
in my opinion, real estate is just a vehicle. It could be cars, it could be
Yeah.
insurance.
Right.
We sell three, could be title, right? Three things. We only offer three things, in my opinion. We offer time, service, and knowledge. We don't create the inventory, we don't build the inventory, right? But we analyze the inventory, we show the inventory, we move the inventory. Time, service, and knowledge, that's it. That's it. And in the absence of that, that's why people discount.
So when somebody asks me to lower the commissions to the buyer asks me that, I always tell them that the commission is negotiated with the seller, the
Yes.
seller
Right.
pays it, so I will work the deal the best I can, but
It's not my
it's
decision to make.
between him and I, or
Yes.
she and I, or
So
whatever.
that's
Or
already
my
been
brother,
negotiated.
yeah.
If you're asking me to agree to negotiate, I'm gonna come right back to you, Mr. Buyer.
Let's write the
I'm
offer.
asking you to come
Write
over,
the offer.
you're gonna negotiate the price with the seller.
Right,
And what I do with my seller is my business.
that's right, and it
Because my
works.
commission has nothing to do with your deal.
But yeah, the minute that it says both of our name, my name on both portions, the seller starts going, hey, well, what about that commission?
All right, but that's okay.
That is okay,
Big of a
that's
business
between us.
decision. Listen,
Yeah.
I interviewed a guy yesterday, who was about joining our company, and he went through our philosophy, went through our mission statement, our culture. I said, well, you're an independent guy. You want to discount all day long. You want to work for free. We're not going to tell you no. We are not going to tell you. We'll help you do it for free, and we'll show you how to do it for free, and we'll make sure you do it for free legally. But we're not telling you what you have to charge. We're not that kind of a company. Listen, it stems from Dell. Dell and I have kind of different modes of way we do our business, but I think our philosophy and our core values are the same. This is your business. I'm
Yeah.
not telling you you don't have to work tomorrow. I'm not telling you what to charge or what not to charge. Listen, I won't mention his name, but we had a guy that he had $1 million listing. It was about 2 years ago. An agent from New York who had no license here was trying to do the deal for her son, and she wanted to negotiate $30,000 off the price and then negotiate some more because they weren't going to pay a buyer's broker. So they negotiated. And I said the same thing to this agent. Then the buyer said, okay, here's what I would do. I would negotiate with the seller and I'll pay you, allow you to take from 6%, you can take 3% plus $10,000. So basically it was 4%.
Mhm.
And our agent got really mad. And rightfully so. I really believe that. But at the end of the day, get mad. You have a decision to make. You can do this deal today, and you can make $40,000 and go to the bank and the deal is done. You can stand on your high horse, not do the deal, and risk the fact that you might lose it and you might sell it tomorrow. And if you sell tomorrow from another agent, you're down to $30,000.
Right, take it.
You have to make that
Boy,
decision.
I totally agree.
So, and listen,
That's
sometimes you
much
have to
no-brainer.
listen, what does Dax Watson always tell us? You want to be right, but you want to be smart.
Right.
Okay, I don't know the answer for you guys, I just know it's fair. So he didn't do the deal. And it took him 9 more months to sell that house, and there was another agent. And he had-
Oh, you did?
So all my point was, he lost $10,000 and he waited a long time to get his money.
Wow.
So was he right or smart? Well, that's something only that person could decide.
Can you let a deal drop because of a
Yeah,
commission?
that's-
So I gave out that thing the other day. Oh, you guys weren't here. I do this thing every other Friday at Luxury Home Tour. I recite the Code of Ethics.
Yeah, you do.
So what I do every week.
I
pick
taught
the
it that
Code of
last
Ethics,
week.
And I recite one, and I try to find something interesting in it,
You
right?
do go?
And I'm not there. I'm not an expert on it
I
any
didn't
more
know
than you guys are. But what I do is I recite it, and then I ask a question, and I have 2 minutes, and that's it. And then in those 2 minutes, I recite it, I bring a question up, and I'm done. And if you could walk out of that room saying, never thought about that. So here's what Article 3 basically says. Article 3 basically says that brokers will cooperate with brokers at all times, except when it is not in the best interest of their client.
Yeah.
Then it also says something like, that does not include commissions and, commissions can't get in the way of a deal, but you don't have to renegotiate commissions, it's just things like that. But here's what it basically said, brokers will always cooperate with brokers, except when it's not in the best interest of your client. So watch this, this has happened to all of us, and if it hasn't happened, it will. You have a listing, okay, you have a listing, and I'm a buyer. Hi Dallas, my name is Sandy, and I just saw your listing at 1516 Villa Teresa. I was wondering if you could show me the property today. What's your first question?
What time?
Yeah, what,
Are you working with
you
me?
work with me?
Oh.
He's better.
I said,
Yes,
I said what time?
Scott?
Say take it.
What time did you
Hold
say?
on, hold on, hold on.
Are you working with an agent?
Are you working with an
I
agent?
never ask if they're working with an
Okay,
agent.
hold on. Yes, Scott, yes, I am working with an agent.
Well, where are they?
You know what, I don't wanna
I saw
bother him,
that.
it's Sunday.
I looked.
He's at church, he's on vacation, doesn't make a difference.
Technically, we're making.
He's
it.
super busy.
It doesn't make,
Yeah.
he's super busy.
We're on exchange.
Listen,
Yes.
whatever, it doesn't make a difference what the answer is, but yes, I'm working with an agent, I didn't wanna bother him.
Good.
Can you meet me at 2 o'clock to show the house?
You realize that if I show the house to you and you really like it, your agent may not be able to get a commission.
Well, I don't know how that works, I just wanna be able to see the house, but I do have an agent.
Okay, give me his name or her name.
Here's my point. Code of Ethics just said, brokers will cooperate with brokers unless it's not in the best interest of your client. Is it not in your client's best interest to show the property?
Yes.
So you have to show the property.
Right.
Compensation is a different issue.
Okay,
right?
so let's role play with me. Hi, I wanna see the house. Sure, what time today?
Okay.
And then I show up.
All right. So, I'm trying to joke around.
But first, I cyber stalk them. And if I can't find them, I say, so sorry, my broker requires a picture of your license before I
Protection.
show up to an
Absolutely.
internet
Oh,
lead.
good for you.
And it works,
Oh, it was
and
a-
I tell my team to do that, and it works every time. If they don't give me their license, I don't show up.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I send it to my team, but I also send it to the front desk.
Are
I haven't had
you
to do that,
cyber stalking them while you're on the phone?
No, before I meet them.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes if my iPad's out, yeah.
Listen, I think women are way more vulnerable, and if somebody sees Kelly Porter, they don't know if it's a guy or a girl. Anyone they see Sandy Carter,
True.
right? I mean,
You probably shocked the hell out of
But
everybody.
I don't. even after I talked about the telephone, I said,
They all think I'm the guy. They don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
So with names,
Like, oh.
it's hard to say, but that's a great way to vet people.
Hey, Al.
That's a safety issue. I think more for women than for
Mhm.
guys. But you should vet people showing a stranger.
I actually
But the point being,
yeah.
so now you show the house, and you didn't ask, or you did ask. Compensation's in a whole nother ballgame. Procuring costs.
I never ask. I just
Listen,
don't.
guys, I am not immune to any of this, right? You've heard me say this before. So here's my story. Last week, I get a call from a young couple that sold their family houses over the years. The young couple wanted to buy a house. So we talked, this is Thursday, it was last Tuesday, a week ago Tuesday. And they said, oh, there's a house we're interested in, can you make arrangements to see it? So I do. On Wednesday, they called me up on Wednesday, they said, well, we decided, I'm taking the board exams in June, and I'm really busy, and not a good time to buy a house and move, so we're just gonna wait until the summertime. Great, so Tracy, I sent them some information. Thursday, the next day, they called me back, and well, we've changed our mind, we wanna put an offer on this house. Whoa, wait a second. 4 days ago, you wanted to see it, now you wanna buy it. So what's the first question you ask?
Are you
How did you
Google
see it?
that?
Yeah, have you seen- oh, yeah, we saw it a bunch of times. Oh, time out. What do you mean you saw it a bunch of times? Well, we saw it with the listing agent, we called her up, she showed us the house. All right, and what, did you see it again? Well, then I brought my mother, and then my wife brought her father. Turned out they saw this agent 3 times, right? So you guys call me and say, what do you do? So then who do I call to say, what do I do? So I, it's one of those ugly phone calls. I called the other agent up, I said, listen, here's the deal. I just want to know up front, are we going to
Did
have
they
a procuring
mention
cost?
you? Did they?
No, they didn't, I wasn't even in their world when it existed. The agent did nothing wrong, and neither did the buyer. They
Right,
just,
yeah.
but the agent even explained about dual agency, and they didn't want to do a dual agency, so that's when the parents said, you should call Sandy. So I called the other agent, I said, listen, this is one of those uncomfortable, ugly phone calls. Are we gonna have a procuring cause issue, blah, blah, blah. And she was really cool. She's, I just want to get the house sold.
Right.
That's how I feel. I don't do procuring costs.
Yeah.
So, listen,
Please show
for
my
me
age.
personally, and it depends upon the attitude and the
Right.
if you just called me to show the house, I'm happy to do it. I will respect your relationship. I appreciate you told me that.
I do that too.
I'm not thrilled that your guy is not working today, or but I'll respect the
It's
relationship.
nice that you did that rather than just send an offer.
Yeah,
And then she'd be
right,
like,
yeah.
hey, I've
Right.
had
They
those
gotta
buyers
make the
3
phone call.
times.
Yeah.
So I guess
And a
it's a total
phone call,
difference.
not a text or an email.
No, I call it up, yeah. And then if you don't trust a person on the phone call, then you send an email, hey, Kelly,
Right.
great talking to you
To
today.
verify
Thanks for-
our
I just wanted to
conversation.
confirm, there's not gonna be a period issue. I mean, just something.
Right.
I ask if I can't, like if my seller can't accommodate a showing, I'll tell the agent, hey, we're gonna be open on Saturday, if
Right.
you can't attend, send them anyway. I always respect
Sure,
agents, I
sure.
always do that, like we all have to work together.
Listen, I want to tell you about a
Yeah.
story that happened last week.
We need each other, right?
We talked about how listing agents get paid, right? How do we get paid? What guarantees a listing agent payment?
Close it
Sure.
escrow.
No, that doesn't
No,
guarantee.
listing.
payment.
Oh, the listing agreement.
What guarantees a buyer get paid?
A buyer getting
Buyer's
paid,
agent.
Buyer's agent getting paid
Yeah.
to be.
MLS.
MLS, that's the only thing, that little box that says buy a broker, yes, 3%, that is the only thing that guarantees us payment. Oh, as a buyer seller, right?
What if you have it in writing from the list agent? the
Well,
percentages or whatever,
that's fine too,
also-
but it's something in writing. But other than that, there's nothing else that guarantees a buyer's agent to get paid. And 95% of the time we get paid is through the MLS. Okay. Here's the story. We have an agent that showed a house, and on February, they showed a house, whatever, and in the listing on February 6th, when he showed the house, it said $10,000 bonus to buyer's agent. He writes an offer that day on February 6th. They negotiate. On February 8th, 2 things happen. The seller came down to a really low price to make the deal and took out of the MLS $10,000 bonus. Took it out.
But did,
They still negotiated, and on February 10th, they made the deal. So the deal closes. Okay? I don't know how this came, the agent didn't even come to me. I think it was just in talking, we had a conversation about it, and I started researching it. And I said, you realize you're entitled to this $10,000 bonus, right? He says, well, what do you mean? Because they negotiated that and took it away. I said, the minute that you wrote the offer, whatever in the MLS is what you're entitled to.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
at the
we wrote a
time.
letter to the other brokerage, not even an argument, not even a discussion, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, and 3 days later, they sent us a check for $10,000. So, watch this, let's change the scenario. In MLS, it said $10,000 bonus on February 6th. On February 7th, I changed it and I take out the bonus, and on February 8th, I now write the offer. Then there's no bonus.
Correct.
Right.
So it's the time you write the offer. So I've never seen this happen, but theoretically this could happen. I've known Pam has shown my listing 4 times. People are on the fence, they're not sure, blah, blah, blah. But I know Pam on Wednesday showed it, and she said, oh, I'm meeting my people on Saturday to write an offer. And I changed the co-broke from 3% to 1%. And then on Saturday, she writes
That's
the offer.
mean.
Technically, it's 1%.
I've never seen that happen, I hope I never do see that.
Wow.
But that could happen, right?
Isn't that horrible?
Everything that
would
we
be a
require in
sliding
SkySlope,
person that would do that.
everything that we require in
Pam would
SkySlope
probably
for
do
the
that.
files, there's a reason for everything, right? The tax records to verify the owner, the address, verify square footage, verify if it's built before 1978. Well, I'll give you an example with lead-based paint. You know, when you guys put stuff in SkySlope, you tell me 3 times if this house is a lead-based paint enough. 3 times you tell it to me. Once in the contract, once on the tax records, and once on the listing, right? So if there's a discrepancy, you'll get it back. But that's how I know. 3 times you're telling me if it's a lead-based paint or not. So that's when we require it. But everything, so the reason why we require the MLS printout is because that shows at the time that you hopefully you write your time of offer. And that deal, that scenario does not happen a lot, thank God. It just doesn't. But it could.
So if that happened, they would legitimately only get 1%.
Isn't there a little bit of gray area there? Like if you didn't show the property, I mean, you're supposed to pull MLS before you write an offer, right? But if you don't, and you've got the
It's
original
what the MLS
MLS.
said, it's not whether you pulled it out, but if you
Yeah.
don't pull it out.
Because you've asked me before. if I
Yeah,
have
but you
an
can go into the
MLS,
history of the
what it
MLS to see it, that's how our agent did it. Was when he put the MLS in there, it was after the bonus, so we didn't have it. So it was just a, by the way, discussion. So when we went into the history of the MLS, you could see the date on February 8th, it was taken out of the MLS. There was no discussion, 0 discussion.
Isn't it a good idea to just follow up with the agent in advance, to say, hey, I noted in MLS that there was a
Well,
$10,000 bonus?
What I would have
Just wanna
suggested,
make sure that's still.
I wouldn't even brought it up.
No?
I wouldn't have either.
I wouldn't either. 'Cause
Just
it's-
let it go?
Listen,
I've
when
never had that
when you're
happen.
doing a deal, you
Yeah.
confirm during the middle of the transaction, just want to confirm it's still a 3% co-broke?
No,
I've never
Why?
done that.
because you've already got it.
Now, unless it's $10,000, why would I ask? Why would I assume it? And the minute you do, things go a little haywire. Well, we're not paying it. Well, you have to. No, we're not. Well, now then the seller, the listing agent goes to the seller and says, hey, you know, Mark, you still have to pay the $10,000. Well, I thought we eliminated that. Well, I made a mistake, or the other agent wants it. Well, I'm not gonna fix. I wouldn't touch it. There's no reason to believe it didn't exist. There's no reason, and then at the end, when the deal closes, then I make it an issue. And the other agent, I'm telling you, the other brokerage, HomeSmart. Listen, I'm gonna tell you what. Say what you will about HomeSmart agents. I'll go on record saying this. Lori McDonald was their DB, and she's terrific. And Trudy Moore was their DB.
Oh, what happened to Trudy?
Terrific.
She retired.
Yeah, terrific. You know, say what we will about the agents and the brokerage management is terrific. And they know how to play. I go to meetings with her all the time, and I have a lot of respect for her. Not a question, not even it just, sorry, and here's a check, and 2 days later we got a check. And we would have done the same thing. Listen, I like to think that we're a pretty stand-up brokerage. If you guys made a verbal commitment to somebody and it wasn't in writing, and the broker didn't sign it because the broker's supposed to sign it, if you said it, we'll live by it. And I don't know what brokers in town that wouldn't live by what your agent said, whether the broker signed it or not. If the agent said it, I don't know what broker in town that wouldn't live by it. So, anyway. All right, what else you guys got? Jennifer, what do you got?
I got nothing.
Come on.
Okay,
got
so
nothing.
Sandy, back to the lawsuit that you brought up at the beginning where they're trying to railroad say that the
Oh, yeah,
industry is
yeah.
railroading 6%. How can that be a problem when we disclose that it's, commissions are always negotiable, it varies? How can you
Yeah,
say that it's being railroaded? I don't understand
I
that.
just read what I read.
Right, yeah,
And
it
I'm
just
hiding-
came out
Yeah.
yesterday.
I'll try to
It
find this
was-
article and send it to you.
Yeah.
It might be a common
It's
thread,
very,
but I mean, it's not.
but the key was.
The word is, you can never say it's standard in the industry.
Right.
Listen,
Right.
I'm gonna tell you a story.
They're basing it on
about
price
co-broking.
fixing.
So when I first started, this was really interesting. You guys know who Jim Sexton is?
Yeah.
So I didn't know who he was. I had no clue. And my first introduction to Jim was, he was my kid's soccer coach. He was just Coach Jim. Just got my license. The kids are like 5 years old. They're running around without knowing what to do and kicking a soccer ball, 9,000 feet away. And so I just got out of real estate school. I just started with Coldwell Banker. And Coldwell Banker started this thing. They used to teach us a thing called the 7-second presentation. When the moment was right, you'd say, hey, Mark, we're parents watching our kids play. Hey, this is my card. I'm a real estate agent. If you ever have any real estate needs, I hope you give me a call. Just done, finished, right? So I'm doing this with my oldest kid. And so we're playing soccer. Coach Jim's there. We meet the other parents, and Jim's doing his thing, and I'm with the other parents. And on the first couple of days of practice, the moment was right. Hey, Natalie, I'm saying Carpenter. Well, the moment was right with Coach Jim. At some point. I didn't know. So I gave my card and said, hey,
He was
Coach
a
Jim, just
secret
let you know
agent.
I'm a real estate agent. Here's my card. If you have any real estate needs, yeah, great, thank you very much. Cool, right, okay. I found out weeks later, Coach Jim was Jim Sexton, president, designated broker, John Wall Associate, and way more than that. Jim is just it's a
Yeah.
giant icon in our industry. He has been, still is, and all that stuff, right? There was a point of.
I thought you were gonna say he was a secret agent.
No, there's a point
Well,
of-
that was your elevator speech.
Oh, so I did, so now I know who Jim is, right? And I have a little more of a personal connection in that sense. So I'm doing a deal with John Hall Associates on the buyer side, co-broke, right? There's a co-broke of 3%, or whatever it was 3%. And at that time, it was more common that 7% commissions were more in play. So it was a 3.5% and 3.5% co-broke. Co-broke meaning equal. We're co-broking, equal. So I'm doing this deal, and the co-broke to me was 3%, which was lower than what was. Checking if I would get-
Usual.
Your normal rate,
Well, whatever was out there, okay?
whatever.
Fine,
And
that's
that's
the way
what
it
I
was.
say.
So I get a copy of the closing statement, and the listing agent took 4%. And I'm getting 3%. I thought that was outrageous. That's not a co-broke. Co is equal. Co is, I was crazy. So I went to see Jim. I had a connection. I made an appointment. I went to see him, and I told him the story. And Jim, can you shut this off? Jim was very cool about it, but he taught me a big lesson.
I don't know why you couldn't have said that.
I don't know, but he just didn't want any foundation.
Right,
So
right.
you have to show up to know what just happened.
Right,
No part of the conversation,
right.
and then I realized you can't talk about it.
Okay, I had that with a short sale, early on in my career, and the agent took the 4%. And then he paid me 2%. And I was like, why did you do that? That's, I'm having this conversation with him, and he's like, hey, I have a negotiator, I've got a this, I've got a that. That's how it had to, play out.
So what,
So he explained it to me.
but in the MLS it said 2%.
Yeah, but I got mad when I saw
Okay, so it's
the
like-
4%.
That's
I mean, there was
happening.
6% there?
When you guys,
Yeah.
most of you guys, well, you guys were around during the short sales, right? So in the beginning of short sales, it was common that we didn't know how it all worked. So we take a listing at 6%, we co-broke at 3%. And then during the sale, the bank came back and said they're only paying 5%.
Yeah.
So listing agent said, hey, would you share it with me? And I think generally speaking, the buyer's agents did, because we didn't know what to expect. So to get the deal done, we all agreed to 2.5 and 2.5. But after a while, this was 7, 8 years, we knew how the game was played. We knew the bank would drop it down to 5%. So a lot of agents would just put in co-broke at 2.5%, and that's what it came to be. But then you got a lot of agents that still put in co-broke to buyer's agents 3%. And then in the comments, they would say, we get short sales done, we hire the negotiator, we're experts, we close our deals, you follow our system and we get it done. All right, so you figure they know what they're doing. And then, of course, the bank would come back at 5%, and they want you to take
Take
a
the,
lower. There was a point, I can tell you, I did it, and there was a point, I think a lot of the industry, we said, no, we're not doing it. You just told me how great you are, and you do this all the time, and you're experts at it, and you get the deals closed. You should have known that they were not gonna do, we're not doing it.
Right.
And they got mad, but there was no argument. They had to pay us 3%, and they took whatever the difference was. But in his case,
He
he could
explained,
have added it, but you can't take away from it.
yeah, he didn't give me any more money, but,
Right.
but he explained it, he said, I understand where you're coming from, but we have, I have this negotiator that has to have 1%, and then this, whatever, has to have 1%, so I'm actually getting 2% also, and I was like, I mean, I can't argue, it says it in the MLS, but how come he did that? I always ask forgiveness,
Yeah.
not permission, I just ask questions.
Now, easy to ask for forgiveness and permission, right?
Way easier.
All right, what else you got?
I think that lawsuit stems, it's stemming from starting in Minnesota. The attorneys are probably from New York, but Minnesota, they're the ones from Edina Realty.
Edina, right.
They started that class action for buyer broker and listing broker. And that's why we have the two, because there was one seller that thought he was being taken advantage of. So, by the buyer's agent, because listing and buyer's agents used to get together and say, okay, we'll just do this, we'll do that. And the guy who was selling the house felt he was, cheated. So, and I read this stuff about, they're suing all the big companies and then NAR, and they're you don't know what's gonna happen when the lawsuit gets down. I mean, everybody says it's frivolous and it's a waste of time, but I remember back when that buyer agency happened, they said the same thing. So, I think they want now a total disclosure of, if you're buyer's agent, you're gonna have to get it from the buyer. Here's your
That's
commission.
what I got.
Me-
And
That's
this
what I
guy,
got out of
and
it.
this guy
The
who's
buyer
selling it,
wants-
I've agreed to pay you 1%.
Right,
And if that buyer agent can get
Right.
whatever they can out of
Right.
that buyer,
right, right.
that's
That's what I-
that's how I read
If
it.
if anything, it'll be
Certain
years and years
cities.
and years, this is not gonna happen anytime
Yeah,
soon.
no.
It's
It
not
was also-
Arizona.
No,
Boy, that's just
Arizona,
gonna
I
make it very
noticed,
difficult
was
to get
not
clients.
listed in there. Did you know
I'm
that?
sorry?
Arizona was not listed in it. So there was a bunch of
Texas.
cities, there was 10 cities or so, but Arizona was not in there.
Right,
No.
Or Phoenix, whatever,
No.
yeah.
yeah, but also Remax is a major corporation, worldwide, so I
Right.
think they
I
said there's no
don't-
comment from
was
Remax,
Remax
Berkshire
listed?
Hathaway, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that.
There was no
that,
comment
Keller
from
Williams-
Remax.
KW,
Berkshire Hathaway, Keller
Remax,
Williams.
Berkshire, yeah.
Yeah,
It
Well,
was the
interesting.
biggies.
yeah,
It'll be interesting to see what, if anything comes of it, but.
right.
Well, they're spending the money. I don't know if those
Yeah.
law
They're
firms just do
spending
that.
a lot of money if they're hiring the tobacco people, tobacco attorney.
What else you guys got?
And he's got a lot.
What else you wanna talk about?
There was some law that the state legislature passed
Oh,
yesterday.
yeah, on the HOA?
Yeah,
HOA one?
that and the internet,
Well, we talked about the HOA, what did they?
to
Yeah,
have
they were
to
trying to allow the property management companies to raise their fees and charge these extra administrative fees, and it sounded like it was free reign. It was Farnsworth out in
So-
East Mesa.
So,
That'd be
property
run through
management companies and HOAs, right? This
Right.
is fascinating.
Right.
HOA is not the property management company, they're two
Correct.
separate entities. And
Correct.
I think HOAs forget that they are in charge.
Yeah.
They hire a property management
That's
company.
right, yeah.
And the property management company works at the pleasure of the HOA.
They
And
should
who are the
be
HOA?
telling.
It's the homeowners, they're the HOA, right? HOAs have a huge lobby and they're very strong. So I'll give you some examples. To be a property manager in residential real estate, I do property management, we have to be licensed and all that stuff. Property management companies for HOAs do not have to be licensed. Because they're not managing the houses, they're managing associations. Right. They do not have to be licensed, okay? And they can charge what they want because it's really basically free enterprise, you know, capitalistic society. But they don't make the rules, it's the HOA that makes the rules.
Yeah.
That, I think people forget that. And HOAs have complete control.
Right.
HOAs can shut property management companies down in a heartbeat.
But the argument was on this case that Scott's talking about, or whatever was passed yesterday, I'm not sure it was actually passed, but it was
No,
up,
got approved.
was that
Senate or
it
something.
gave the HOAs essentially, were giving the property management companies the power to be able to make their own decisions on the charges that were made.
Yeah, if so, then that's on the HOA, I think.
Mm.
Listen, what about, I got there's a condo building called Inspire, it's on like Earl and 73rd Street.
Right.
Brand new building, I have the first rental in there, now we're selling, the first resale. They're still building, they're still selling your new unit, and there's another phased building that's now being built. So the HOA is nearly not by the homeowners, it's still by the developer. And at some point, when they sell a certain amount of units, a certain percentage, then it turns over to the homeowners. And the CC&Rs are all designed to protect the builder, not necessarily the homeowners. So in this HOA, you cannot put a lockbox any place on the premises,
Oh, wow.
any place. So it's not.
Or a sign either, right?
I didn't even attempt this, I didn't even thought about that. So I put a lockbox in the corner, on the edge, on the gate in the corner, and I got called on it. So I have a lockbox hidden on an apartment complex a block away. So it's there. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But who does it hurt? It hurts the homeowners.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The homeowner, he could,
Well, that was a big issue in the downturn too, remember? Places that were saying, oh, you can't have signs anymore, and it was.
do you know the first community that I remember that said you couldn't have signs? You guys will forget when I tell you this. The first community, and we all know it very well, that you could not have a for sale sign in your yard.
Cormac Ranch.
Greyhawk.
I was just
Oh,
about to
Yeah, I was
say.
gonna say.
Back in the day,
Yeah.
you couldn't have the sign.
Well, now they have to be a certain.
Yeah, and that's an HOA thing, it's an HOA versus the city, it's a cat and mouse game. Then you can have it, then the city said you can't do that. Then they said, okay, it has to be a certain size. and then-
3 feet tall.
Yeah, and it has to be facing a certain
Why
way.
do they care?
Because,
Why?
but here's the
Because
point,
the
it's the
existing
homeowners
homeowners
that
care.
get to make that decision, not the
Continuity.
HOA, not the property owner.
I mean, how many really horrible signs do you see out there that,
Did I tell you guys when I did,
No.
I was gonna just jump out and do an open house at my edge at Greyhawk,
Uh-oh.
condo, and I went and I put my signs all
At
out.
the edge, yeah.
That's the most dangerous part of our job, right, is putting signs out.
Right,
Like, it's
yeah,
scary, like,
exactly.
don't hit me! You know, so I put my signs out, and I put one right in front of the go right here inside the community. And this really nice young man picked up every one of my signs and he went and picked that one up, and I walked, I go, what are you doing? Why, are you being the bad guy now? What's going on? And he goes, you have to have Greyhawk signs. I go, did you pick up all my signs? He goes, yeah. I go, is there 6 of them? He goes, yeah. I go, can you put them in my car? And he goes, yeah. And I go, all right, I'm done. I don't know how to, so I didn't have any.
You know, somebody, I wish I could take
You did have a couple come in though, right? You had a couple
I did, I had 2 people come in before
I
my
wish
signs were all
I
gone.
wish I could take credit for this, but somebody, I don't remember the exact details,
He put it in my
but
car.
just, you weren't allowed to have, signs, like in the community. So he did was he had his wife's car and his car parked at certain spots,
Oh,
and
right.
in the car, he had a
Right.
directional open house
Yeah.
sign,
Right,
in
yeah.
the car,
Okay.
not on the street.
We're on the
So you drove on this
That's
street.
creative.
I've done
And you
that.
had to see, you
Done that.
couldn't help but not see the sign, but it was in the car,
Right,
in a
yeah.
legitimate bar
Right.
house.
Yeah.
Or even on the
Top of the
hood of the
car.
car, or the top of the car.
Yeah.
I'm all about relations.
Well, there's also some ordinance about,
Crazy.
Scottsdale, such as Scottsdale, cracking down on putting, open house signs like in right of ways in the middle of the
Right,
road.
yeah.
You know, if we don't start controlling our own industry, they're gonna start
Right.
controlling it
Yeah.
for us.
I don't
And that issue comes up every
In
5
Desert
years.
Ridge, they took all Civox
Yeah.
signs, open house signs, and threw them.
Yeah, I'll tell you something else, we don't have
many.
this issue too much with
Too many.
Remax, at least in our company. But you're gonna see, I bet you within the next, well, certainly by the end of the year, my thought, well, at least what I'm hearing from the meetings that I go to, is that they're coming down, not just the commissioner, but the state is now coming down really hard. When I say the state, meaning the Attorney General's office,
Right.
coming down really hard on non-compliance with real estate signs, where the name is not clear and prominent, the brokerage's name.
Like
We all
the
see it.
300
Joe's Real
arrows.
Estate.
Right.
There's the real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all see it, we don't have to mention the names, right, we all see it. But I think now it got to the point where the AG's office,
Yeah.
they're coming down on the commissioner, and they're gonna become a little bit more.
I just don't know why people don't just follow that rule.
And
It's
here's
not a
the
bad
commu-
rule.
and
Well,
here's
ego
because
thing. I
some
heard
guys
it's
aren't
ego thing.
actual agents that have
Well,
those.
here's what the commissioner
And they
says.
don't have a
The
company.
commissioner says the words are clear and prominent. And what she'll tell you is, I may not be able to tell you what it is when I see it, but I can tell you what it is when I don't see it. Right? I can tell you what it's not. I mean, my attitude, and I bring this up to her all the time, why can't you just have it is, rather than saying clear and prominent, or define. Clear and prominent means that the size of the lettering of the individual's name and the brokerage have to be at least equal.
I think they should lay it out
Or
like
the
that.
brokerage name cannot be less than
Right.
the same size as any.
I know, they're not making really like an actual rule, they're just saying make it prominent. or-
Yeah.
Well, that's what that's the old,
But you know what, with regard to those signs, open house signs on the streets and in medians, what if someone has a really serious accident because they're looking at my sign? Can
You're
they come
liable.
back after me? Yeah, you'd be
please,
liable, right?
I think to anybody, but,
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
another
Texting.
agent,
listen,
Run over
you ain't got a
somebody, run
lawsuit.
into
I was just
somebody.
putting signs out on the median, and another agent came up to me when she was putting out her sign, she goes, do you know if you put that out? It was really nice of her, she's like, I know there's another sign out there on the median, but if someone gets in an accident because they're looking at your sign, they can come after you, and I was like,
Really?
thank you so much for letting me know, I didn't even think about
But
that,
that's
I was
true
just following the
side
other
of road, I
sign.
mean.
It's
They're all over.
too dangerous to go to the median.
I agree,
It depends on the road.
Even in the neighborhood, if a little kid gets hit.
She's a little warrior.
This is obviously the two funny thing, the question is,
The red
That's
light's
taking it to
red,
the
okay,
extreme.
park.
It was a stop
Let's
sign.
throw it out.
It was a stop sign. Stop, they have to stop
Maybe that would be
anyways.
extreme.
Yeah.
we have,
They don't always know.
Yeah.
one of our agents got
Pretty
sued.
serious.
One of our agents got sued by their own buyer. So here's my point about being
Oh,
right,
fun.
and getting sued, so watch this.
Fires are
It was
like.
the only lawsuit we had last year, and it was wrong. The buyer out of state was not coming back for the walkthrough. Bins of items were done, receipts were provided, the buyer was not coming back for a walkthrough. The buyer signed the walkthrough waiving their right. And if you check box number 3 and you read it, it says they waive their right, they hold the broker, the brokerage is harmless, and the agent, blah, blah, blah. The deal closes, maybe it was a few weeks later, the buyer, moves into town. There were certain things that were not done the way the buyer thought they should have been done. Okay, goes to the seller, they have a dispute, blah, blah, blah. So the buyer sues the seller, sues the listing agent, and sues our buyer, who is their agent. And we say, well, what are you suing us for? You waived your right. We suggested that you get a friend, hire the home inspection company, have somebody come back, and they refused to do it, they didn't want to spend the money, and they're suing us for negligence, mistrust,
Right.
not proper representation, blah, blah, blah. So we have to send it to our insurance company because it's a lawsuit. We have a $10,000 deductible, and our lawyers will tell you, our agent is 100% right, but it still cost him $6,000 to get out of this deal.
Why?
Because of the way you have to defend it. So our lawyers went back and said, you know, they wrote a letter, this is frivolous, blah, 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 blah. They came, there's two law firms in town that are just known in the world of law, real estate law, that just go after these little, and because they know they just throw letters out there, they're going to get money, they're just gonna get money. So they're defending it, and he's up already into $6,000 defending what he's already right.
That's wrong.
It is
Cindy,
wrong.
can you disclose who those two law firms are?
I don't know the names, but yes, I will tell
Okay.
you. I have to look it up, I will tell you, yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
One does it for tenants, and one does it for buyers.
Okay.
And in that world, they're just no.
Paul? No, that's his brother.
They only represent landlords.
Right.
But the point is, it's wrong, so we do everything we can, so we can talk about, you know, the importance of files and paperwork. Yeah, you have no idea what's gonna come down the road 6 months or 2 years down the road. And you know, we're not gonna remember our deal, that's why I always tell you, if you think something's happening, start documenting, put a little timeline.
You guys, if you know, I don't know if you guys are aware, but the email, if you have an email chain going back and forth on a subject that might be of a dispute or something, I tell my agents to you can put it into a PDF, and then we upload
It
that
saves the
into, yeah, but upload that into the miscellaneous documents and stuff.
SkyScope is your
Because
electronic filing system.
It really is, it's super important to just remember every single thing, because it's true, you're not gonna remember.
Every piece of paper, right? So
Change email.
the state, when we do audits,
Change email, change
they
brokerage,
require,
whatever-
there's
whatever.
there's 5 documents the state requires the brokerage to have on a closing. Right? Purchase contract, counters, addendums, agency, closing statement, and anybody?
Listing agreement, I
Copy
don't
of
know.
earnest money.
Earnest money.
Those are the 5, right? Everything else
Minuscule.
is done for insurance,
Lawsuits.
wire fraud.
Wow, yeah.
Affiliate business disclosure, that's the CFPB thing. Whatever else we've
The
got.
buyer advisory.
Buyer advisory, that's a
Right.
CYA thing, I mean, it's all, and it's interesting because we've eliminated, in case if you don't know, we don't require that general buyer disclosures anymore.
I
You guys
know.
all time this, because it's in the buyer advisory, right? Before we had the buyer advisory, we required the general disclosure. So, but we do require the wire fraud alert, even though it's in the buyer advisory, because now twice. It's
Right.
just because it's so rampant,
It's
it's
so huge.
it's just another buffer.
But there's that wire fraud advisory and then also the alert. There's 2 in there
Right.
now.
Right.
You want both?
No, the buyer advisory, yeah, that we require both because it's such a hot issue. Last year, over $1 billion was
Yeah.
defrauded in the real estate industry through buyer fraud.
Crazy.
Over $1 billion was lost. And you guys, when we had that detective talk to us, it's, so, listen, I tell my people now, before you wire any money, call me. I don't care if you email, I don't care who calls you, you call me and tell me who called you and I'll verify it, and I'll take on that responsibility. Because we're the only guy, listen, we're the only spoke on that wheel, right? We're gonna have a contact with the inspector and the appraiser and the title company and the lender and the agent and whoever else is, we're the only person that controls or is at least in touch with all of those spokes on the process. So, and I'm going back old school, I'm telling people, write a check, get a cashier's check and physically bring it to closing.
I do the same
Exactly.
thing.
It's old fashioned, but you know, it's better than wiring money sometimes.
Just last month, we had 18 million that was targeted in funds, close to
In
2
the county.
million that was diverted.
And that's just
That's a lot
Fidelity,
of money.
was that the industry?
Well, it's the Fidelity family,
All
which
the
is
brands.
all the brands
Right.
nationwide.
Grand
So
Canyon
it's-
Lawyers.
But it's not,
Think
but,
about all the others
yeah,
that exist that, yeah.
and, you know, 1.8 million in the month diverted, 1 million that's trying to get recovered, but, you know.
Jeez.
So we you know, we have a lot of things in place to protect it. To your point, you know, old school is another way of protecting
Sure.
it. But, yeah, a lot of companies don't have all those protections, and once it's gone, it's gone.
Right, right.
So these people get a hold, how do they do that? I mean, in a nutshell, how does someone do this?
Usually, they take over the agent's email address and impersonate their email. Sometimes
So they
there's,
spoof an address.
Well, they tap, say you and I are doing the deal, you're the buyer and I'm your agent.
Listing.
Okay,
And somebody tap into my email or your email.
okay.
And they're just monitoring the deal. They're just watching the deal through our
Like
emails.
blanket insurance policy.
Title company's emailing me, I forward it to you, or whatever the case may
Yeah,
be.
there's
So they got
And
access
it's-
to everything.
Yes.
How do they
so-
do that? That's just buyers
And-
very, very.
It's man in the middle. It's
Yes.
this is super, super sophisticated stuff.
Definitely do
And
that.
they will do real time while you're talking, they will take your instructions and change it to him in real time. So you can say, did you get my email? He said, yeah, I got it. And in real time, it changes the wiring instructions because
And
they're.
then you're gonna get, as a buyer, you're gonna get your
Wow.
wiring instructions from the title company, right? And I might say to you, hey Mark, just be aware, the title company will be contacting you, Kelly Porter is our escrow officer, and she'll be sending you, wiring instructions and how much money for the prorations. And all of a sudden you get this thing that looks pretty legitimate, it's Fidelity, blah, 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 and there's one dot changed on the email address. Or one's a capital letter, one's not, or just,
Yeah.
but you'll never know it. You will never, unless you read it line by line, the fine print, you'll never know that it was fnf.com, and this is fnt.com or fne.com. The F looks like an E.
LTIC1.com or
You'll
something.
never notice, exactly, you'll never notice, and then you think it's pretty legitimate, I'm closing, and
They wire the money and it goes to.
It's
Goes
offshore.
someplace else.
once they hit that send button, it's
Really
done.
offshore.
It's gone.
Listen, this
Who are
actually
the
Dell.
agents?
You guys were here about a year ago, we had an FBI agent talk to us, and what happened with Dell was, his buyer, got the wiring instructions, and just ran it by Dell, and Dell thought, well, why are we asking for so much money, like a week earlier than it should be? We're not closing for another 10 days, they're asking for a little bit sooner than they should be. So Dell just, up on a whim, said, well, hold off a second, let me just verify something. And sure enough, it was a scam, it was like $250,000,
Wow.
that would have been lost.
Yeah, just tell your clients you'll never email them your instructions. It always comes through.
You can't
or-
emphasize,
or-
I tell people old
or,
school,
um,
talk to me, and I talk to other
encrypted
brokers at
through-
these meetings, other brokers say, I don't wanna do that, I don't wanna be the man in the middle, because it's too much responsibility. I think you should be the man in the middle.
Yeah.
I believe
That's
that.
part of the
So don't be
service.
afraid, in my opinion, don't be afraid to tell your clients, don't do anything without me talking to me, because we won't make that mistake. Because we're the ones that, when I call, Fidelity or whomever, I know I'm talking to Troy. Right? You don't know who Troy is. He's just, listen, Kelly Porter, is Kelly a guy or a girl? Sandy's, guy or a girl?
My dad did that on purpose.
Dallas Griffin.
Dallas?
I did that on
Who
purpose.
else wants to get into this game?
Sam?
Sam?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
it's true.
True.
you just don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Zip forms instant.
Instead, so we'll talk about that. So,
We just did a class yesterday. It's interesting.
tell us.
I just did a class on instant, and we're doing one for Remax Fine Crops after your May,
Right.
monthly meeting.
Yeah.
So the CE class, it's actually a CE class. I think I can't remember what the credit is, but it's basically a class on Instanet because Zip Forms is by and large. I know you've said they're
Not 100%,
multi-tracking,
yes, but yeah.
but yeah, I mean.
Instaform will
It's gonna
will
be
be our
hard.
new forms provider in another year or so, and ZipForms, the plan is ZipForms will probably go away. Right now, the two, Instaform
This
and
year?
ZipForms are running parallel.
Yes, this year.
With the idea that they're gonna phase one out.
And it's gonna probably be really hard to stay with Zip
Right,
Forms.
and that decision has not been made to formally eliminate ZipForms, but it looks like it's going in that direction. So
So
Instaforms is a new.
Instant is the new solution, and it's called InstantNet. And it has integrated e-sign, so, we got a 3-hour demo on it basically yesterday. Who's doing it? Jeff Raskin. So he's not promoting the product, but, he says he likes both, but it was very interesting, seems like it's better, I don't use ZipForms, but it seems like it's better, more integrated, probably a little easier to use. So, but, getting up on it sooner than later, because chances are at the end of the year, calendar year, we gotta make the switch. So we have, the class is May 21, I think, after we'll send out information, but after the office meeting.
Are we switching to that? Is that getting?
Well, it looks like it's going in that direction.
Okay.
Nothing will happen till, at least till the end of the year.
So we need to go to that.
So they're
We need
running
to-
the two programs parallel, so there's an integration system, so that you just don't wake up one day and ZipForms is gone and Instanet is here. So,
Yeah.
it's going that direction. There's a lot of reasons, from our use as agents, from a brokerage's use. I'll give you an example, just one example. If we wanna put you guys notice in Sky Slope, automatically affiliated business disclosure, the water disclosure automatically shows up in your,
Right.
Yes.
because we can control that, right? If we put that on zip forms, it takes 6 weeks to get it in there, and it's like $300. It takes forever to do it. Then if you make a change to the affiliated business disclosure, because it changes all the time, $300 more bucks, and another 6, it's long, and it's like that. The service of them is not terrific.
Which is why AAR said, we're
Right.
done.
Right, it's not just us.
It took 2 weeks to get a response.
Oh, that's good.
Zip forms.
Sandy, thank you.
All right, so listen, this is a plug for you guys that, don't come to Camp Advantage, it's on Wednesdays at 9:30. This is exactly what we do, we have a round table, we discuss what's important to you, issues. So Wednesdays, 9:30, it's a great class to go to, yes?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
We'll see you there.
Yes.
All right.